Hey guys, welcome back to my watercolor channel. Today we paint an autumn leaf, which is quite colorful. I start with the stem of the leaf, adding deep yellow and some red. And then I continue with the leaf itself. I have not wetted the paper, I add the paints as it is. I have some deep yellow and then adding some self-made green. I mix the green out of lemon yellow and ultramarine blue. And then I add some more of other colors such as crimson red mixed to an orange, a brownish orange, or some other red mixed with the yellow to have some brighter orange. And the colors flow together, adding here and there a little bit of a green so it's not as boring. And I take off the excess paint with the brush. I make sure that there's always this kind of like paint bead, so it's not dried out and you don't see much of the brush strokes. Then continuing with the middle of the leaf and adding a little bit of a dark red here and there, especially where the veins are. Leave some space so it's not so overcrowded, and I can add later on the darker colors to emphasize the veins of the leaf. I really like the autumn time as it's very short here, especially here in northern Finland. But then again, the summers are not as hot as everywhere else in Europe, so it's around 20 degrees or 25 degrees. During the autumn times, there's less insects, so it's much nicer to go out, and there's a light, chilly wind, which I really don't mind. I also really like the colorful trees, although I have to admit where I live there are less of those ruska atmosphere. We have more birches, and this year especially it has been more of yellow leaves rather than a mix of yellow and red and orange. Here we have loads of needle trees such as spruces. I'm nearly finished with the first layer of the leaf, and taking a little bit here of the paint and there, and then adding at the top left side some more orange. And I'm very careful adding those paints with a little bit of larger brush. I make sure that it's actually not as extremely uniform or clean, so it's important that the edges of the paint are a little bit different, not as linear or straight lines. I continue here with the second layers. It's basically adding a little bit here and there paint. I did wet the leaf before. Before I start paint, I add water to each segment, so I don't need to rush as if the whole leaf would have been wetted. I added some green and then I add some more of those orange, but make sure that the brushes are clean as well as the water, so it's not really mixing that orange with the green, because then it creates a little bit of a muddy colors. The stamping is more like a color meditation mindfulness. It takes some time, and I add a little bit more strength here and there to make it look really nice. I add a little bit stronger colors at the edge of the leaf, and I check that especially the leaf is a little bit wet. I think when painting leaves or flowers, it is quite important to work with wet to wet. At least it worked out for me, because they're very gentle, like they have kind of like fragileness. It's so easy to overdo it with the colors, so this wet to wet procedures creates a nicer effect. The autumns in Finland, or especially in the northern Finland, are very short. This year we had many autumn storms, which means that the trees losing the leaves very fast, and you can't really enjoy as much of the ruska or the colorful leaf crowns of the trees, which is a little bit a pity. Yet it is one of my favorite seasons before it gets really cold. You have occasionally some warming spells, but yes, the winter is not far away. Basically, I still enjoy the warmth of the sun as it gets more darker and got to in the mid-September. It's more of a twilight and you don't see any sun till the end of January. I continue here basically the same procedures as I have done before, adding a little bit color here and there, and basically with some adding like a spots methods of stumbling. I have painted leaves before, but they did not look as too nice, especially as I tried to add a lot of color at once, so it's kind of worthy to have a look how you proceed with the painting and then maybe have a break, especially as you can wet the paper afterwards. And I have actually noticed it works quite well that if you have drawn the veins before, that you can actually put the spots not as random, but towards the veins of the leaf. So it's kind of like at the edges of the leaf, it's more of stronger colors and then getting lighter towards the middle. So it looks a little bit like a shape, a round shape, and the leaf doesn't appear as flat. And then adding here more green and orange. It's kind of like you can see, especially here, that the veins are somewhere around there, so there's some space left. And then working slowly myself forward till I have added all little spots on the leaf. In the photo, which I have actually downloaded from Pixabay, the colors were really strong, but I thought maybe as a beginners it's easier to not work with so strong pigments. Now continue with my last segment of the leaf and adding a little bit orange and reddish and as well as green. So especially here you have to make sure that you have really clean brushes, that you, once you added the color, that you wipe the brush on a piece of paper or an old cloth, and then continuing with another paint. Here I add more green around the veins, so a little bit of a stronger color to emphasize where the stronger parts of the veins are. It's also important to know maybe not to add as extreme straight lines and not having really discontinuous lines, just breaking up a little bit, as it looks much more natural and much more realistic. Sometimes the colors dry up, so like here, so it wasn't as strong as I thought it would be, and so I added more stronger colors afterwards. So I add light brush strokes here and there. I have pre-drawn some of the veins. And I try not to make it too strong. I actually only use green. And as well as here, they are a little bit broken, so not that there's a continuous line. I tried to add the veins kind of like in a different shape, so it's more around when the leaf is bulking up. But I don't want to add too many of those veins. Occasionally I look for reference from the photo, but I don't make it too realistic. I continue with the stem of the leaf, which I painted basically with brown made out of burnt umber and some of the ultramarine blue. I emphasize some of the edges of the leaf, so adding a little bit of a darker color, a little bit of this the same brown as I have used for the stem. And I look at here and there if I can add a little bit more of red paint. Basically it's a third layer, but I did not wet it ahead. So I mix the shadow out of ultramarine blue. I start with that. It's a very light layer of pigments, and then I continue to add the purple layer while the first layer is still wet, so it's kind of like ultramarine blue and some crimson red. I try not to add too much paint or too many pigments and make sure that it really sticks out, and try not to overpaint the leaf too much. Here at the stem you can see it really apart. I continued to erase a little bit of the colors or take away of the paint. I use a clean brush and clean water. And then I use a clean tissue as well. So it looks a little bit like that the leaf is bulking up and it's more realistic looking. I also erased maybe some of the stronger veins, which I thought maybe it's not fitting as well. So I am doing the last bits in here and there, and that's basically the last step for this autumn leaf. Okay, thank you very much for watching the video, and remember to subscribe.